What is up, fantasy fans? Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I am organizing the different series that I am currently in the middle of that I have not finished, and I'm going to be presenting to you. I have a list on my notes app. Let me turn up the brightness on this bad boy. It's a lot. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 27 unfinished series. This is including novels. Oh, wait, let me add. Technically, okay, we're going with 28 actually, because one of the ones I plan to talk about is not on this list. All right. So I'm going to be going over these. They're not in any particular order. We have books, comics, manga intermixed. Most of them are books, but there's some comics and manga in there as well. Speaking of which, I forgot to add these books. And as I was looking at my shelf, I realized there's a whole nother series that I need to add. A more professional reviewer would just restart the video, but that is not me. Okay, so the goal is to finish all these series this year, and there's a few that are like questionable, like I may entertain the idea of continuing these series, but they're not necessarily on the docket. So these are all series that I plan to finish within the next year. Some of them are very achievable. Some of them I'm going to be working pretty hard on. All right, so first and foremost, and the biggest series of 2026 for me, and that is Wars of Light and Shadow by Janny Wirtz, aka one of my favorite series of all time, even though I'm not finished with it yet. Currently reading Grand Conspiracy. Absolutely loving this series. Everything you've heard about this series is true. This was my favorite series that I read last year, though I was able to fit in quite a bit more Sun Eater because there's more audiobooks, and during school it's kind of hard to read when I should be studying. So usually the commute to school is whenever I listen to a lot of my audiobooks. But this is my favorite series that I've read in the past 5 years. Love the characters, love the writing. Her prose takes you on a journey. It really brings you into a different world in a way that most others' writing does not. I will shout it from the rooftops till my dying day. This is one of the greatest and most slept on fantasy series of all time, and I will finish this one in 2026. And then next up, we have a book that I may actually finish this series before the end of the year. Probably not, though, at the rate I've been going. So we've got Destiny's Doom by Von Roycroft, his Sundered Nation trilogy. I plan to finish that this coming year, very early on, probably before I go back to school. This is an amazing series. As he is coming into manhood, we follow the character of Valdan. His father is concerned that the destiny that awaits him, the responsibilities that are about to be thrust upon him, he is not ready for. And his father is a flawed character. He's a lot more flawed than the normal, typical father character. And a lot of these flaws are inherited by Valdan. And Valdan is a very problematic, to say the least, main character, but he's captivating to follow. Elan is one of my favorite characters from this series. She is one of the best female main characters, love interests that I've read in a while. She is absolutely amazing, and my favorite character. Well, actually, no. There's another character that I don't even want to spoil who that is. That's actually my favorite over Elan. But yeah, amazing series right here. All right, and then next up we have, I'm actually right in the middle of book 2. I say in the middle, I'm like 3/4 of the way in, and that is the Drowned Kingdom. Sundered Nation, I already said that. This is the Drowned Kingdom saga by P.L. Stewart. So this series, man, this is an awesome series. I'm on book 2. Book 2, massive step up from book 1, which I already gave 5 stars. Oh man, I can just tell that PL has honed his craft in this one. My review for Last of the Atlanteans and Drowned Kingdom, I'll probably combine them into one review. I'll probably do that once I'm done with this book. Probably be a few weeks from now. But yeah, really, really loving this one. Massive improvement from book 1. Not that book 1 needed a massive improvement. I'm just saying, love the plot of book 1, love the pacing. Some of the prose writing, I think, has improved greatly in this second book, though. And then next up, we have a comic series, or a series of comic series, and I'm talking about the Hickmanverse at Marvel. So most of my audience probably will not be familiar with this, but there's a writer at Marvel. Well, most of his work at Marvel is done. but by the name of Jonathan Hickman, he wrote this epic saga that began with the comic book Secret Warriors, goes through S.H.I.E.L.D., through his Ultimate Universe stuff, through his Fantastic Four universe, all the way through Avengers, through to Secret Wars, which is this is a big, like, universe spanning but also very personal story between Reed Richards and Doctor Doom, and a lot of the Marvel universe is pulled into it. I've read Fantastic Four and Secret Warriors already, and his character work with Reed Richards, his character work with Nick Fury is just excellent. He's great at bombastic, explosive action moments, but also the quiet fallout afterwards. He does amazing emotional storytelling and also amazing epic storytelling. I know he's a big fan of Frank Herbert's Dune, and I believe that sort of epic scale is on full display with his Marvel work. And I'm going to finish, so I just wrapped up his other trilogy, but I'm going to finish City of Sacrifice by Michael R. Fletcher. This is his third trilogy in a series of trilogies that all kind of tie into one another. This is the only one that I haven't finished, though I know he plans to write more Obsidian Path books. I finished his Obsidian Path trilogy. I finished his Manifest Illusions trilogy like last night. And I definitely plan to finish City of Sacrifice. It's been a while since I read book 2, like probably about a year, but I'm excited to get back into this story, and these are usually all quick reads. So I have, with the Hickman books, by the way, let me just cover all that I have left. I have 7 Wars of Light and Shadow books plus a short story. I have 1 Sundered Nation book left. I have 5 Drowned Kingdom books left. I have 1 City of Sacrifice book left. I have 5 Hickman omnibuses left. Next up is the Impossible Times trilogy. So this is a YA time travel sci-fi series written by Mark Lawrence that is within the same sort of universe, multiverse thing going on, his Taproot verse, which the character Elias Taproot is a character that shows up in his Broken Empire trilogy, his Red Queen's War, his Book of the Ancestor, and I've heard he shows up in this, and that the following trilogy, Book of the Ice, which is a prequel or sequel of Book of the Ancestor, ties in pretty much everything that had to do with the Taproot verse. And then his subsequent series, the Library trilogy, is its own thing. And his new Grimdark trilogy, Academy of Crows or something, is going to be its own thing as well. So I definitely want to wrap up his Taproot verse. So I plan to read 2 more of his Impossible Times books. They're very short. And then go on to the 3 Book of the Ice books. So that series, the Taproot verse, I have 5 books left in that. So I actually finished this trilogy, but pesky author Philip Chase decided to write another book before his next series that is a bridge book between series, kind of a bequeathing of the spotlight from the heroes of the previous trilogy to our new protagonists, is what I've heard. I've heard this likened by Von Roycroft, author of Sundered Nation, to Ursula K. Le Guin. I've been told by Janie Wirtz that it tells an amazing coming-of-age story. I really, really, really love the Edan trilogy. It's in my top 3 favorite self-pub books of all time, and all three of my top 3 favorite self-pubs are probably in my top 10 favorite fantasy series of all times. The Edan trilogy, but also Sword of Kaigen and Dreams of the Dying, all phenomenal storytellers. And yeah, I am very excited to get to While Darkness Gathers, pick back up with characters like I'll let you read and see which characters you pick back up with. Then next up, I have another comic, Saga. I have 1 trade paperback left to catch up on this. This is a series that I've been reading since about 16, 17 years old. This book has a lot of violence, sexual content, but it tells a very heart-wrenching and heartwarming story at times. It's a story about a family. If you love James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy, I think you'll find a lot to love here. This is a galaxy-spanning epic. This is volume 12 of the trade paperbacks. I believe they plan to tell 100 issues or 150 issues. And yeah, Fiona Staples and Brian K. Vaughan, they've been at this series for over a decade, and they probably will be at it for another decade. And it's always going to be a book I pick up. I love this series. I'll always love this series. And I have 1 trade paperback to read to be caught up. All right, next I have 2 books left in the Essex Dogs trilogy by Dan Jones. Fans of Joe Abercrombie, Michael R. Fletcher, fans of mainly Abercrombie fans are going to find a lot to love here. The way he writes boots on the ground soldiers is really, really well done. His character work is amazing. I love the main character of Love Day Fitz-Talbot. Excited to see more of his story. This is a historical fiction set during the reign of King Edward the Black. And it's so good. It's so freaking good. I'm surprised I haven't read books 2 and 3 yet. And I have 2 books left in that. Next, I'm talking about the Hellboy universe. So to include Hellboy's comics, but also BPRD, PBRD, BP, Chef Boyardee, BP. BPRD, the Bureau for Paranoid Research and Development. This follows characters like Roger the Homunculus, Liz, who is a pyrokinetic, Abe Sapien, though I believe he leaves BPRD to get his own solo series, much like Hellboy. But I've been following the Mike Mignola reading order for this series, and it's been a ton of help. I think reading it in this order helps a lot with understanding the greater overall narrative, the apocalypse of frogs, the plague of frogs, Hellboy's journey, his fate. A lot of these characters are larger than life. It's not just Hellboy, but it is, in my head, the Hellboy universe. That's the character I was drawn to originally, and the scope of the world just expands out from Hellboy, and a lot of the characters are really exemplary. All right, next up, I have Black Hammer, which is a comic book series universe by writer-artist Jeff Lemire, though most of the art in this is not his own, though I think he's illustrated a few. But writer Jeff Lemire envisioned this world. It's kind of a deconstruction of superheroes, think Watchmen or Miracle Man, but though probably not that dark, but with a dark fantasy mystery aspect intertwined. Now, that premise could only last so long, so the different plots within his universe have gone on. Some are more, I wouldn't say generic, but more traditional superhero stories, though usually with a Jeff Lemire style twist. And then some are still with that sort of dark fantasy mystery aspect. And his latest book is Streets of Spiral. Spiral City is one of the main cities within his Black Hammer universe. Very excited to read that. Inspector Insector is in it, which, as silly as that character may sound, he's part of a meta-narrative that Jeff Lemire indulges in from time to time, and I think he does really great work there. I'm very excited to read that. Next, I have a series that I probably will finish before this video even comes out. I'm listening to it right now, and that is the Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. I just have Battleground and The Law left, but I'm going to level with my audience here. If Battleground does not impress me, this may be my last venture into the Dresden Files. It's hard for me to say because I loved the first 11 Dresden Files books. I know everyone says give it till Changes. I think that's very odd for me because Changes is when it started getting really, really predatory. Predatory might be a bit harsh, but the amount of sexualization that happens for Molly Carpenter Changes on is horrendous. And like some of the books I really loved, like Ghost Story is a post-Changes book that I really enjoyed. But at the end, there's like this weird orgy scenario that's set up where I'm just like, why did we do this? Why would you do this, Jim? And so many great moments in these last, when was Changes, like 6 or 7 books ago? So many great moments in these last half dozen books. But then it's like weird sex stuff. Bigfoot on campus. All right, the character is reaching 40 years old. I do not want to hear him talk about the chest of a 19-year-old. It's sick. It's disgusting. I don't like it. Now, if that's something that doesn't bother you and you love the wizarding aspects, this is no judgment. I love the wizarding aspects of this series and is what has kept me reading. Also, another thing to factor in, I liked it when these were mystery fantasy books, and they've lately become Marvel action movie books with weird sex stuff. Not sex stuff, but weird perv stuff. And there's still a lot of love in this series. I think the characters of Molly, of Murph, of Dresden, of Waldo Butters, they're all amazing characters. And Jim Butcher obviously has an amazing talent for writing characters and writing a sort of urban fantasy setting. I mean, this is the most popular to ever do it. Where he falters in is not editing himself. I need less references to hentai. Please stop that. Stop that. That specifically makes me eye roll every single time. All right, so another series I want to follow up on is The Bound and the Broken. I'm going to read, so I have 2 novellas, 2 books, and 1 short story. This is one that if book 3 is not as amazing as everyone says, I may softy enough it. I'm curious enough about the characters to where I don't think I'll hard DNF it unless it's just really bad. But I like Cahill. If you were bothered by the prose style of Robert Jordan, I think that this hits a lot of the same areas as Robert Jordan, but the characterization is a little bit more believable. The dialogue's better. The prose is better. Not to say that it's great and amazing prose. It's not M.L. Spencer's Dragon Mage, okay? Like, that's a reinvention of classic 90s fantasy, Dragon Rider fantasy with amazing prose, amazing dialogue. Everything's amazing. M.L. Spencer's awesome. But this is... This is not quite as good, but there's more of it. And I'm excited to read it. I think Ryan Cahill definitely has a talent as a storyteller. There's a few choices he makes in writing that I have issues with. Like, there was a point in book 2 where a character reads about druids, and the next chapter we find out that a main character is a druid. I think he could have easily edited it to where that character is reading about druids maybe 2 or 3 chapters before then. That way it wouldn't have felt so abrupt and so tacked on. But I think the character work is really good. Everybody talks about Dane and Belina, but I also really like the protagonist of Kaelin Breyer. But yeah, I have 2 books, 2 novellas, and 1 short story left of Bound and the Broken. All right, and then next up, I have 2 more books left in the Another Kingdom trilogy by Andrew Klavan. This was a suggestion from my friend I Samwise. I will admit, I liked book 1 a lot. I gave it 4 stars. I know that this book holds a very special place in Sam's heart, and I think that's probably for personal reasons, but me, I didn't find enough depth in that book to really give it 5 stars or above 4. I thought what it set out to do, it did really well. It's this fun sort of thriller storyline where this man is going back and forth between the fantasy world and, you know, our world in Hollywood. And I thought the premise was cool. The execution was good, but I don't think that there's, at least for me, there's a lot deeper there. But I definitely want to finish it up. I thought it was a fun plot, and I'm excited to see where it goes. All right, next up we have a manga, and that is Dandadan by Yokihubu Tatsu. I butchered his name. But yeah, Dandadan. This is a fun series. I believe I have 6 volumes left. I read the first 10, and I believe there's 16 in English currently. So this follows a boy that believes in aliens and a girl that believes in ghosts. And oh man, it's such a great coming of age story. It's such a great romance. It's such a great story about a found family. It is awesome. It is awesome. I know some people that have like in the booktube community that are like, oh, that manga's so weird. And it's like, if you take it at face value, it is like shock value, explosive weirdness, but there's a lot of depth there to me. It's one of my favorite mangas I've ever read. I really enjoy Dandadan. It's very out of pocket, and I don't think it'll be to everyone's tastes, but I really, really loved it. Next up, I have another manga, and that is going to be Blade of the Immortal by Hiroaki Samura. Blade of the Immortal is amazing. This is a seinen anime, or seinen manga. One thing I find so excellent about this book is the sort of graphite pencil artwork in it. It's very distinct. The main relationship between our girl trying to, I'm blanking on their names, between our main female protagonist trying to avenge her dead parents and this man who has done some Manji, who has done some terrible things, trying to rectify who he was. He's trying to be a better person, both for himself and for this young girl that looks up to him. There's sort of a budding romance between them, I believe. And yeah, really enjoying it. Next up, we have the book series that took BookTube by storm, and that is Dungeon Crawler Carl. I really liked book 1. I am kind of known for, like, if a series is really hot and buzzing, I don't really want to cover it as much or read it as much because I'm like, oh, okay, other people on the internet have that figured out. But now that the dust has kind of settled on the huge Dungeon Crawler Carl hype, at least as much as it can settle before like book 8 comes out, I definitely want to wrap up this series and get caught up. I really enjoyed book 1. I think Jeff Hayes' narration is immaculate. It's so good. And there was a lot more depth to the characters of Carl and Donut than I was expecting. I really liked book 1. I believe I gave it a 4.5 stars, and I'm saving that 5 stars for later in the series. I think this series has a lot to love, and I'm excited to see where books 2, 3, and on take it. And then next I know I have the copy of the book somewhere, but I'll just put it on the screen. I have book 2 in the Gwambi Tetralogy, My Father's Ghost. I want to finish. So the Gwambi Tetralogy, I believe, has released up to book 3. So I want to read books 2 and 3. So I have 2 books left, but there's also a sort of prequel novel that is, I've spoken to the author, A.C. Wilson. I believe it's called something to do with fire. I'll put it down below. I did not prepare, but I've heard that this book sets up 3 series that he plans to write within this world. I highly recommend his books. Even if the idea of a treasure planet like Treasure Island like Robert Louis Stevenson-esque story doesn't appeal to you, I still say give it a go, because the way he writes Tolkien-esque fantasy, like it feels very Tolkien-esque. It feels adventuring. It doesn't feel like modern fantasy in a lot of ways. It feels very in line. And I think a big part of that, because I've spoken to A.C. Wilson, a big part of that is that he grew up on Tolkien. He grew up on Charles Dickens. He grew up on a lot of the classics, Fiddler on the Roof, and he hadn't read a lot of modern fantasy when he originally envisioned a lot of aspects of this world. So it definitely is more in line with the more traditional fantasy. It is a blast. I really enjoy his prose style, his dialogue, and his characters. All right, and next up, we have a series that I actually was caught up on, but then pesky author Steven Erikson decided to write another book, and that is the Witness series by Steven Erikson. I have 1 book, No Life Forsaken. If you know me at all, you know I love Malazan Book of the Fallen. It's my favorite series of all time. So obviously, no-brainer. Go and check it out. I definitely wanted to get to this one a little bit after everyone sunk their teeth into it, mainly because it came out while I was still in school. And then also I didn't want a lot of other people's opinions to kind of sway me either or. So I'm excited to get to this and see what I think. I'm sure I'll love it. I've loved everything within the Malazan world. I can't think of a single book I didn't love within this world. Maybe Forge of the High Mage. There were parts of it that I wasn't hot on, but I still thought that that was a book worth reading. I think every book by both Esselmont and Erikson are well worth reading, and I think that this will be no exception for me. All right, and we have another comic here, and we're going with X-Men by Chris Claremont. So yeah, this is the master of X-Men. This is the guy who reinvented their whole team and the whole dynamic of the X-Men comics, and really tried to say a lot about civil rights and what it means to be born different and what it means to struggle to just belong in a society that hates and fears you. And I love the X-Men. Marvel Comics is not necessarily a name, a brand, a company that I associate with quality, but this, along with some others that are going to be on this list, is a massive exception to the rule. I love the X-Men franchise, especially the work done by Chris Claremont. I'm going to continue with his second omnibus. I believe there's 4 collected omnibuses of his work, but it's kind of hard to get your hands on it because Marvel doesn't keep their stuff in print. But I will definitely read Omnibus 2. And I may have to read omnibuses 3 and 4, the contents of those omnibuses, on Marvel Unlimited or say Hoopla. Probably Hoopla. I'm trying to stay away from Marvel Unlimited, but yeah, X-Men by Chris Claremont. I got some more mainstream series going on here, but I have Dune. Never read Dune Messiah. I enjoyed Dune Book 1, just wasn't really compelled to read on because I didn't find Paul Atreides or any of the characters found therein to be easily rootable. And while I thought the first book was amazing, I'm definitely somebody that likes a little bit more heroic characters, say Hadrian Marlowe. But, you know, the Denis Villeneuve's third movie's coming out. Definitely love Timothée Chalamet's performance as Paul Atreides. And I'm excited to read Dune Messiah. And I have 5 books left in this series because it is a 6-book series. I believe that's how many Frank Herbert wrote. I'm not reading beyond Frank Herbert unless I feel really compelled to. I may read the 2 Brian Herbert conclusion books to the series, but I'm definitely not reading all those prequels and stuff. I do not feel as much of an attachment to that world, and I've heard that those books are kind of a bastardization of what his father originally wrote. So I have 7 books left in the Witcher franchise. So I've read the 2 collection of short stories. I know there's a 5-book series that follows the exploits of Geralt and Ciri, following the events of Sword of Destiny. And then there are 2 prequel novels. So I plan to read all those this year, probably audiobooking most of them. All right, I also have 8 books left in the Echoes Saga by Philip C. Quintrell. I mainly plan to finish that first because I believe it is 3 trilogies. So it's a trilogy of trilogies. If I finish that first trilogy and I feel like going on, I will, but I'm not going to push myself to go on if I don't. So like hard 2 book that I'm reading next year, soft 8. Next, I have To Your Eternity, 2 volumes, manga, great series, love it. Not one of my favorites like Dandadan or Mobile Suit Gundam or One Piece, but there's a lot of love there, and I've had some really emotional moments reading that book, and I look forward to reading more. Frieren Beyond Journey's End and Hunter x Hunter. These are series that I started last year and that I fell in love with. I have, I believe, like 30 or something Hunter x Hunter books left and like 5 or 6 Frieren books left. I've read the first 8 volumes, so definitely going to read into those. And then next up, I have 2 books in the Mortal Techniques Heroic Age Rob J. Hayes series. This is Never Die, Pawn's Gambit, Spirits of Vengeance. I believe there's 1 short story as well, or it might be a novella. So going to read those 3 works. All right, next up we have the Thomas Covenant series. So this is a series that has 2 trilogies and then a concluding quartet. I don't know if I'm going to read the quartet. I've heard some negative things about it. I want to go on to the second trilogy. I read this in a buddy read with Samwise and Jake from Nerd Level Rising, and I think both of them enjoyed the trilogy slightly more than myself, though I'd still give it like a 3.5, 4 stars as a series overall. I thought the themes were excellent. I thought the character work was really well done. I thought the world building elements were not the best. I'm not very much a world building person unless it's just done really remarkably well, like I mentioned with the Gwambi books. But overall, world building is not where I'm drawn to. It's more so the characters, the writing, the prose, the themes, which has amazing themes in those books. But the thing is, Stephen R. Donaldson cares a lot about his world building. There's several times where the plot is kind of stopped to give world building elements, and for a book to do that much, and I didn't feel like the world building elements were that great. Next up we have A Song of Ice and Fire. I read this when I was younger. I never read the Duncan Egg stories, and I never read A Fire and Blood. I stopped in like 2013 or so, not too long after Dance of Dragons came out, and I haven't looked back since. So I read the first 5 books. I'm rereading them. I read a Game of Thrones. I'm going to start a Clash of Kings soon. So I have 5 books plus the Duncan Egg collection plus A Fire and Blood. So I have 7 books left in this series. And then I have 2 works from Marvel that I want to wrap up. I have 1 omnibus left of the Chip Zdarsky Daredevil run. Enjoying it so far. Excited to see how it ends. And then I'm reading through the masterpiece Thor by Walter Simonson, written and drawn by Walter Simonson. Brilliant. He also did a run on Orion that I really loved. The works of William Shakespeare. This is high up on my list. I'm counting it as a series, even though it's just a bunch of plays. Well, you could argue that the Henriade is a series that's supposed to be read in order. About that far into my Shakespeare journey, and I definitely will finish this in 2026. I'm reading the Life is Strange comic books. I have 2 trade paperbacks left of those. That is a video game series that got a comic book series following the events of the video game, and I really enjoyed it. It's kind of nostalgic for me. And that kind of wraps up all the series I plan to read or finish in 2026. I'm trying not to start any new series. If it's like a standalone, or if it's like I plan to read The Great Wind by Alan Moore, if it's like 1 book is out, or Discovery by J.A.J. Minton, J.A.J. Judge. Yeah, if it's something like that and there's only 1 book, or even by Blood by Salt and A Haunt for Jackals, if it's just 2 books, I'll take that on. But I'm trying not to start bigger series. You know, Adrian Tchaikovsky's been calling my name with Shadows of the App, but I need to wrap some of this stuff up. And there's a few other things that I may get to. I may continue Discworld with Pyramids. I've been reading these in order, enjoying them, but, I'm not super compelled to read a bunch of those next year. Also, going to read some more Stephen King within his Stephen King multiverse. Get ready for The Dark Tower. But I probably won't hit The Dark Tower in the next year. That'll probably be a 2027 endeavor. I may read more JoJo's Bizarre Adventures I kind of was turned off by the second part of that manga because it felt a little too shonen, a little too fight scene-y, and I got bored. And then I may, because I guess I don't love myself enough, I may try Sandman by Neil Gaiman again, but I did not enjoy those first 2 volumes. I may pick it up with volume 3, and if I decide to, I think there's like 10 volumes of that. That's why I'm like, if there is not a jump in quality soon, it will go from a softy enough to a hard. But yeah, let me know what series y'all are currently in the middle of, what y'all think of any of these series if y'all have read them, and thanks guys. Peace.